In the final chapters of life, people often imagine peace, wisdom, and a kind of quiet victory, yet many unknowingly walk toward habits and attitudes that slowly poison those precious years. Not because they're weak, but because no one taught them what truly matters when time becomes more valuable than anything money could ever buy. As a psychology professor, I've seen how the smallest missteps in mindset can turn the last stretch of life into a battlefield of regret. And just like a folktale passed from elders, where the hero fails not from villains, but from ignoring the signs, these mistakes creep in silently, shaping a destiny no one intends. Stoic philosophy speaks to this phase of life with remarkable precision. The Stoics didn't merely teach how to endure hardship. They taught how to live well, especially when the shadows grow longer. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Don't waste the rest of your life wondering what others think." Seneca reminded his students that time is a currency constantly spent, never earned back. Their words weren't abstract theories. They were survival tools for the soul, forged in the fires of real human struggle. Stoicism shows that the final years aren't about decline. They're about refinement, clarity, and courage. And it is precisely in this stage that the wrong mindset can do the greatest damage. But the real question, the one that sets the stage for everything that comes next, is this: what are the specific mistakes that silently sabotage a person's final years, and why do they strike so deeply? That's where we must look next. If you've connected with the message above, if those words stirred something familiar, like a quiet reminder about the life you still have the power to shape, then don't let this moment slip away. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss the deeper insights that can transform the way you live. Like the video if the ideas struck a chord, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might be the spark that helps someone else rethink their final years. This channel grows through minds like yours, and every interaction helps bring more people into a community that's choosing wisdom over regret. Let's walk this journey together. Mistake 1: neglecting financial planning. In the final stretch of life, money becomes less about wealth and more about stability, dignity, and peace. Yet many people step into their later years like travelers entering winter without preparing firewood. They trust things will work out somehow, and that single belief becomes the silent architect of chaos. I once heard an old folktale about a farmer who ignored repairing his barn because it's fine for now, until one stormy night, everything collapsed at once. Neglecting financial planning works the same way. Nothing seems urgent until everything becomes urgent. The consequences don't arrive quickly. They arrive all at once and without mercy. The Stoics understood the importance of foresight. They weren't obsessed with wealth, but they deeply valued preparedness. Seneca wrote, "The wise man does not leave his future to chance. He prepares for it as if it were already here." To the Stoics, planning wasn't anxiety, it was responsibility. A life without financial foresight, especially in older age, becomes a life vulnerable to every unexpected gust of fate. Stoic philosophy teaches that prudence phronesis stands alongside courage and temperance as a pillar of a well-lived life. Making wise financial decisions is simply one expression of this ancient virtue. In my years of teaching psychology, I've seen how financial instability in later life doesn't just break bank accounts, it breaks spirits. People who avoid planning often do it not out of laziness, but out of fear. Fear of numbers, fear of aging, fear of facing reality. There's an old saying, "What you avoid grows teeth," and by avoiding financial planning, people inadvertently create the very monster they hoped to escape. The Stoics would remind us that clarity is a form of strength, and confronting uncomfortable truths early can prevent a lifetime of regret later. And this is why understanding the dangers of poor financial planning isn't merely practical. It is a form of emotional and philosophical protection, a safeguard for dignity, freedom, and the final chapters of a life lived with intention rather than fear. Mistake 2. Isolation and avoiding social connections. As people grow older, a quiet danger often slips into their lives, not illness, not loss, but isolation. It starts subtly. Fewer visits, shorter conversations, long evenings where the clock seems louder than the room itself. Many retreat into solitude, thinking it's safer, more comfortable, or simply easier than navigating the messy terrain of human relationships. But isolation has a way of darkening the final years like a slow closing curtain. I once heard a folk story about an elderly man who stopped attending village gatherings because everyone had changed. In truth, it wasn't the village that changed, it was the silence he allowed to grow around him, until even his own laughter sounded foreign. The Stoics understood the danger of withdrawal long before psychology gave it a name. They believed a person cannot flourish alone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A human being is part of a community, like a limb is part of a body." To them, connection wasn't just emotional comfort, it was part of what made life meaningful. They taught that wisdom includes participating in the world, not hiding from it. This insight shifts isolation from a personal choice to a philosophical misstep, a retreat from the very experiences that shape resilience, purpose, and identity. Stoicism reminds us that even the strongest mind can wither without the warmth of human presence. In my years of teaching, I've watched how isolation quietly rewires people. Without social interaction, the mind becomes its own echo chamber. Thoughts grow heavier, fears grow sharper, and stories about the world become distorted. A retired teacher I once interviewed told me, "I thought I was protecting myself by staying away, but all I did was let loneliness settle into my bones." Stories like his aren't rare, they're warnings. Isolation doesn't arrive with a bang. It seeps in like fog, stealing clarity, vitality, and emotional strength while leaving a person convinced they're safer alone. This is why staying connected, truly connected, is not a luxury in the final years. It is a lifeline. Reaching out, sharing space with others, and allowing oneself to be part of a community can restore meaning in ways medicine, money, and memory cannot. Isolation may feel like protection, but connection is what keeps the final chapters of life alive, warm, and worth living. Mistake 3. Resistance to technology. For many people entering the later years of life, technology can feel like a foreign language, unfamiliar, overwhelming, even threatening. Instead of learning, they step back. Instead of exploring, they shut the door. But resisting technology in today's world is like refusing to learn how to light a candle in a dark room. The darkness doesn't care about your reasons, it simply grows. I once heard a folktale about an elderly musician who refused to learn digital recording because real music belongs on paper. By the time he changed his mind, the world had already moved on, and his melodies remained trapped in notebooks no one ever heard. Resistance didn't protect him. It isolated him from possibilities he never gave himself a chance to explore. The Stoics had a surprising amount to say about adapting to change. They weren't speaking about smartphones or computers, of course, but they believed that wisdom requires a flexible mind. Epictetus famously said, "It's not things that disturb us, but the views we take of them." Technology itself is neutral. It's our reaction to it that shapes its impact. The Stoics often emphasized the importance of engaging with the world as it is, not as we wish it remained. In that sense, embracing technology becomes an act of philosophical maturity, a willingness to evolve, to stay curious, and to participate in the ever-changing landscape of human life. In my years of teaching psychology, I've seen how resistance to technology quietly steals independence. Those who avoid learning basic digital tools often become reliant on others for the simplest tasks, from banking to communication to healthcare. A retired engineer once told me, "I built machines my whole life, but when phones became smarter than I stopped trying." His honesty revealed a painful truth. Technology wasn't the problem, his fear of feeling inadequate was. And when fear governs learning, the mind shrinks instead of expands. This shrinking leads to frustration, embarrassment, and a sense of being left behind in a world moving faster each year. This is why embracing technology in the final years isn't about becoming tech-savvy. It's about staying connected, capable, and confident. Learning even small digital skills can restore freedom, open new doors, and protect a person from unnecessary dependence. Resistance may feel safe, but adaptation is where dignity lives. In a world shaped by innovation, choosing to learn even slowly is choosing to stay alive in the fullest sense of the word. Mistake 4. Avoiding change. Change is one of the few certainties that becomes more pronounced as we age. Yet many people cling to routines, familiar habits, and old ways of thinking as if resisting change could somehow preserve youth or safety. I remember a story my grandmother used to tell about an old bridge in her village. The villagers refused to repair it for decades because it's always been fine. One stormy night, the bridge collapsed and the path to the other side became perilous. Avoiding change works in the same way. What seems stable and safe today can become a dangerous trap tomorrow if we refuse to adapt. The Stoics taught that life is a constant flux, and wisdom lies in learning to move with it. Heraclitus may have said it first. You cannot step into the same river twice. Stoicism expands on this idea, emphasizing that resisting change is like trying to hold back a tide with bare hands. The world doesn't wait for comfort zones or fears. It reshapes itself continuously. By avoiding change, we trap ourselves in rigidity, missing opportunities for growth, understanding, and even joy. In my experience as a psychology professor, I've seen how resisting change can quietly erode fulfillment in later life. People refuse to explore new hobbies, meet new people, or even rethink old beliefs, thinking that it's too late to evolve. One retired teacher shared with me how she refused to travel or learn new skills after retirement, believing it would be pointless. Over time, her days became monotonous, her energy dulled, and her sense of purpose waned. The tragedy isn't in age, it's in the refusal to engage with life's evolving possibilities. Ultimately, embracing change is not about abandoning comfort. It's about honoring life itself. Every adaptation, every small shift strengthens resilience, sharpens the mind, and keeps the spirit alive. The Stoics remind us that growth never ends. The final years can still be vibrant, meaningful, and rich if we stop fearing change and start moving with it. Mistake 5. Not planning for the end of life. The end of life is inevitable, yet many avoid thinking about it, as if closing their eyes could push it further away. This avoidance can turn the final years into a haze of uncertainty, stress, and missed opportunities. I recall a story about an elderly woman in a small village who refused to discuss her wishes for care or burial. When illness struck suddenly, her family was left in confusion, arguing over decisions she had never prepared them for. Not planning for the end of life doesn't just affect the individual, it ripples outward, causing unnecessary turmoil for those left behind. Stoic philosophy provides a powerful lens for approaching this delicate topic. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Preparing for the end is not morbid, it is an exercise in wisdom. The Stoics valued foresight and reflection as tools to live fully and intentionally. Planning for the final stage of life, whether it's legal, emotional, or spiritual, is a way to ensure that our last years are lived with dignity, clarity, and peace rather than fear and chaos. From a psychological perspective, avoiding these preparations creates unnecessary anxiety. People often tell themselves, "I'll deal with it later," but later comes when energy, clarity, or health may no longer allow it. I've met retirees who hadn't written wills, discussed medical preferences, or considered living arrangements, only to experience weeks of stress and emotional turmoil when unexpected illness arrived. Their stories are reminders that procrastination at this stage of life has consequences far beyond paperwork. It touches every human connection and every remaining moment of serenity. Planning for the end of life is ultimately an act of courage, responsibility, and love for oneself and for others. It ensures that the final years are guided by intention rather than chaos, allowing a person to step into this stage with wisdom, preparation, and grace. By embracing this insight, the Stoic path reminds us that even life's last chapter can be written with purpose, dignity, and peace. Mistake 6. Not getting help when you need it. As life progresses, pride and fear often prevent people from asking for help, even when it's desperately needed. I remember a story of an elderly man who refused to see a doctor, thinking he could handle everything on his own. Weeks later, what could have been a minor illness turned into a major health crisis. Not getting help is more than stubbornness. It's a silent thief, stealing time, comfort, and the peace of mind that could make the final years truly meaningful. The Stoics valued the wisdom of recognizing our limitations. Epictetus once said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves, but mastery includes knowing when to lean on others." To the Stoics, strength was not in isolation, it was in discernment. Seeking help is not weakness. It is a conscious choice to navigate life wisely. Understanding when to rely on experts, family, or from a psychological standpoint, refusing help creates a cascade of stress, frustration, and isolation. People who avoid support often convince themselves they are protecting their independence, but independence without guidance can turn into helplessness. I once spoke to a retired engineer who refused assistance with technology and health issues. Over time, his world shrank, leaving him lonely, frustrated, and disconnected from experiences he had once enjoyed. His story illustrates that asking for help is not a concession, it's a strategy for resilience. Ultimately, getting help when it's needed is an act of courage, humility, and foresight. It allows one to continue living fully, maintaining dignity, and embracing the richness of life's final years. The Stoics teach that true wisdom lies not only in self-reliance, but in understanding that we are part of a human network designed to support, guide, and elevate one another. Accepting help keeps the mind sharp, the heart open, and life's last chapter vibrant. For those who have stayed with me until the very end, thank you for giving your attention to these vital lessons. The final years of life are precious, fragile, and full of opportunity if approached with awareness, courage, and intention. By avoiding these deadly mistakes, embracing change, staying connected, and preparing thoughtfully, you can transform the years ahead into a period of clarity, dignity, and fulfillment. Remember, the wisdom of the Stoics is not just for reading, it's for living. Let their guidance inspire you to take action today, so that tomorrow you can live not in regret, but in strength, purpose, and peace.